So I don't get involved in internal politics with too much unless there's like a major hindrance, which would then backfire on me. I have clients that use like Intaker and stuff like that and different CRM but databases. There's also sometimes there's fundamental problems with the way that like even the receptionist answers the phone. Might be a little short with people, might not be warm, stuff like that. But the way I look at it is simply say it's SEO, for example, take a client spending $10,000 a month, look at how much we've increased the traffic. Okay, let's say we captured, 100,000 hits a month. We know your conversion rate's 2%. Let's say that's how many leads. If 10% of your leads are converted to actual clients, I run the numbers back. What's the average value of a client?
Gotcha.
Right. So that's the way I can do it. With like divorce law, it's pretty easy because usually the average value of a client can be somewhere between like 8,000 to 15,000. So you can say to a client, hey, you're paying me 10,000 a month. I'm making you 100,000, 10x ROI. That's how I do it in that space. PI is a little bit different because the leads can be really, really valuable, right? Mm-hmm. You can get a paralytic case in PI where the fees for the lawyers could be in excess of $300,000. Mm-hmm. So that's obviously really, really different. But on the SEO side of things, it's very easy to just do that calculation I just did. When you factor in things like media buying and PR and stuff like that, it's a little bit different because it's you're factoring in like, what's the value of a brand. I do analysis of my clients' intake, and they're on so many different marketing things, but then I can see that like very few people will actually say, oh, I heard you, I saw you on the buses. But it doesn't mean the bus isn't working. It's just that it functions as a top of mind awareness versus an internet funnel is basically very easy to work backwards on. I think you can generally, if you're doing a bunch of different marketing mixes, you can change it up where you have, unique URLs and phone numbers. You can kind of try to figure out what's working. But generally, each part of the marketing mix functions in a different way. Sometimes, if you have great social media and if you have great PR, it's really hard to kind of figure out, how much is that bringing in or what is that fixing? Whereas in the digital space, PPC, SEO, stuff like that, you could just very quickly run the numbers.
Yeah, 100%. And I know we talked a little bit in the beginning about sort of like the origins and like the PR stuff and how that would carry over. How is what you prioritize, or I guess like what you generally think is the lowest hanging fruit? Like if you sign a new client today, like what are you usually looking at? What are kind of the quick wins? What are you trying to get off the ground first when you're working with people?
The number one thing, the first thing is sort of the character analysis I said. The second thing is the competitor analysis, where your competitor's at. If you tell me you want to rank higher than them and their SEO spends 3x and they have a massive lead on you, then we have to sort of manage expectations. But it's sort of when it comes to any business, really, it's not just law firms. You're trying to control all the inroads to that specific client. So when I search you, what comes up? If it's Quora, are we on Quora? Mm-hmm. If it's Pinterest, why don't we put some Pinterest up? If it's Yelp, are our reviews terrible? Are we optimizing for longer form keywords now with AI? Is our website changing where we're sort of humanizing questions and responding to that? Then we can rank for traditional keywords, right? We can rank for your personal injury lawyer in Miami, all the derivatives of that. It's really controlling the various inroads in your space, which would include social media, which would include YouTube, which would include podcasts. Do you have a podcast? Are you on other podcasts? Could we take the transcript of that podcast and put it on our blog and try and get AI to pull those answers so that when someone actually asks a question to AI, do you come up? And there's so many different elements to it where you can see why the problem is when you hire 4 agencies and you ask them, a bunch of 23-year-olds to talk to each other, how you don't really get, no offense guys, but I was that too once. You don't really get the symbiosis necessary versus if, particularly with Diamond and Diamond, there's about 3 of us working on that massive account. And we have a personal relationship that extends a decade where you quickly get that synergy and it's just, you're flying. But it's also, it's kind of like just you're looking at the space and you're saying, okay, there's 150,000 searches in the space. How many of those can we get? And how many of those are on all these other sites? How many can we get on those sites? And how much can we grow that? And then can we branch out into other areas like the bus shelters outside the hospital or, the cabs or the radio and stuff like that. And you're building it out. And then realistically, whatever the client's budget is, you can kind of move around that. I think if you have a minimal budget, you start with AdWords and SEO, wait for the cash to come in and then move outward.